What's going on, guys? It's Jason, your strength and confidence coach, and today we are busting out the second tool in our anxiety busting toolkit, which is the screwdriver, which means we are screwing in our home right into place. And that means that we're going to take a look at what we are putting into our bodies and how we can focus more on making smarter changes so that way we can actually affect the way that our brain processes and thinks of things. Now, this is something that I didn't really know until 2 or 3 years into my fitness and health journey. So I'm really excited to be sharing this with you guys because it would have saved me a lot of frustration and a lot of headaches if I just understood what kind of effect the foods you put in your body actually have on your psyche. So what's really important and that what we're going to talk about today is the effect of insulin and the effect of inflammation that your body goes through based off of the food that you eat. So we talked before about screwing in your home. Now what exactly does that mean? We are gaining awareness of what we put in our body. We want to have a balance, which means we're focusing on getting healthy food in our system, but we're not lost in the overthought of restricting ourselves of food that we feel we shouldn't have. We want to focus more on our positives, not on our negatives. And then lastly, we want to pay attention to how your body feels after you eat and indulge in something. Now, this is important because if we eat something and it affects our stomach in a certain way, we want to be like, oh, okay, when I ate these cheese doodles, my stomach hurt and it caused me a lot of bloating. But when I had some roasted chicken with some vegetables and sweet potatoes, I actually felt really full and I didn't feel sick and I felt very energized. So awareness and how your body feels after you eat something is going to be crucial. Now, we talked about how the food affects our insulin and our inflammation. What we're really talking about here is increasing our vegetable intake and reducing our refined sugar. Now, why do we want to do that? Refined sugar causes our body an inflammatory response. So when you eat something like a couple of Snickers bar, our body raises up our insulin, our gut bacteria gets inflamed, and that causes us to be more tired. It causes brain fog. It causes us to become more anxious because of the way that our insulin is. And our body just doesn't like these type of foods. Now, there is a balance that can be made where you're mostly eating healthy foods, but you're still incorporating foods that you like to eat and that are tasty, like cake and ice cream and all those other fun foods that we like to eat and that are very mouth pleasurable. So I always advocate the 80-20 rule. 80% of your food comes from whole natural sources, and 20% of your food can come from the more fun foods, the more junk food that we would call it. But if we become aware of how our body acts and the way that we feel after we eat something, that will usually help guide us in the right direction. So let's take a look at what kind of foods will usually cause inflammation and what kind of foods are much better in the digestive system, which we will look at the glycemic index for this. So the glycemic index is essentially a 0 to 100 scale that essentially rates the rate of our digestion, right? We're not going to get too strict on the numbers because those don't really matter, but what we do here is we're going to separate them into a high glycemic and a low glycemic chart here. So high glycemic foods are exactly what it would sound like. So your candies, your cereals, your ice cream, those refined sugars, breads, pasta, those type of things will usually cause massive insulin spikes and will usually cause inflammatory responses. Now, on the lower glycemic foods, these are usually foods that are a little bit better for our digestion and will usually lead us to become more fueled and have more energy, less brain fog, less anxiety overall, which is things like sweet potatoes, beans, lentils, oatmeal, and green leafy vegetables. Those type of foods will usually leave us full and satisfied without the brain fog that sometimes a bowl of ice cream can give us. Now, there is this mid-range here where a lot of fruit and rice can kind of fall in between here. That really comes with being body aware, how these foods treat you. And that's kind of like the biggest picture here, is that it's not about eliminating all the fun foods that you want to eat, and it's also not about being overly obsessed with eating healthy foods that are going to cause us the right inflammatory response. But it's about being aware of how our body feels before, during, and after we eat a meal. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is the next time that you sit down to eat, and do this for the next week if you can, is to take a note of how do I feel right now before I eat this? How do I feel? Very anxious? Do I feel sleepy? Do I feel tired? Do I feel energized? Do I feel like this is going to be like a good meal? Take a kind of brief understanding of how you feel during the time that you eat it. Get rid of your phone. Get rid of your TV. Simply be present with the meal that you're eating and start to see, how does this food taste? How is my body reacting to it as I eat it? What am I doing? What kind of signals is my body sending? Then, when you're done with the meal, pause for a second and take another deep breath and feel how your body is after the meal, and see like, okay, I feel pretty full and satisfied right now. I'm actually not that hungry. I don't really need to go back for a second plate. Or you might eat something that might be a little bit on the junk food side and think like, man, like these Doritos, they really like made me feel sick. Like, and that's going to help in future terms, because that may control how much or if you even eat Doritos the next time. And the more healthy foods that you eat, obviously you're going to see a lot better result in controlling your anxiety, controlling your weight as well, and controlling the amount of body fat that you have on your body. Well, guys, that's going to conclude our second tool in the anxiety busting toolkit, the screwdriver. Now, I really wish that this was something that I knew when I first started working out, and I'm really glad to be sharing it with you guys because I know it's going to save you tons of frustration and headache. Now, if you want some guidance on the matter and you actually want a plan that will put you through this transformation, then write in the comments below. You can schedule a 60-minute strategy session where the goal of it is to provide you with as much clarity as possible and really fine-tune what direction that you need to go in order to make a better change in your anxiety management and also your strength and fat loss goals. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this tip, and I hope to see you next time. Keep making steps in the right direction.